Hello there, how's it going? So in today's video, I'd like to discuss a topic that was very important for me when I first came across this book. It's called Liaisons Dangereuses by Laclos. It is a French classic. And I'll go deeper into the story towards the end of the video. But what was important for me was one passage that I'm going to read to you. Now, this is in French, so I'm going to have to read a translation that I came up with. And also, because I was so inspired by this passage, I even wrote a full article on Medium. But since it did not have that much read, I thought it would be very interesting to just convert it into a YouTube video, which I'm about to do today. So I'm going to be reading a bit from my article, so excuse me if my eyes are not completely straight at the camera, but that way I've got a full plan for today's video and I don't really get off topic. So I'm first going to read the translation and we're going to discuss it. So this passage I'm about to read is at a moment where a woman is writing to a young girl, and this woman is teaching her how to become more mature in her relationships, in her actions toward her mother, in the way she speaks, etc., etc. And towards the end of the letter she sends her, she gets a bit critical, and this is what she says to her. Quote, "You still write like a child. It is that you say what you are thinking about and nothing of what you are not. You can see very well that when you write to someone, it is for them and not for yourself. You must put less focus into saying what you think and more into what they want to hear." So I'm just gonna take a quick coffee sip and we can get back to it. So you see that this passage is about admitting that when people talk, it is important to take into consideration what they want to hear and to not get lost into just speaking your thoughts out loud with no context, or even conveying ideas and talking about things that are a real passion for you, but that the other person doesn't care about. So in order to properly analyze that, I want to go back to a basic tool that is used in communication, and it is Socrates' triple filter, and you may have heard about it. The idea, and there is a whole story that goes with it, I'm not going to tell it today, but the idea is that you have to apply 3 filters to everything you want to say, and those 3 filters are truthfulness, goodness, and usefulness. And the idea is that whatever you want to say, it needs to go through these 3 filters. And if it can, then it's probably worth saying. But if it gets stopped by one of the filters, perhaps there is not much interest for you to say that, and there's not much interest for the other person to hear it. So I'm just going to go very quickly into what I wrote about truthfulness, goodness, and usefulness. So regarding truthfulness relies on the authenticity of your statement. Are you lying on purpose? Do you know for a fact that what you say is true? Can you back it up with further information? This is basic. Is what you say true, or are you lying? Are you inventing? Are you saying bullshit? Are you just theorizing and making it appear like a fact? Again, in a context where you're just with a friend having a drink and talking about random philosophical ideas, yeah, please come up with things that you're not really sure are true or not, just because the context admits and allows room for interpretation. But if it's something that you're not sure about, but you make it appear like it's just a fact, then don't say it. Goodness is about the intent of your speech. Is what you're about to say mean to someone? Do you wish to discourage someone? Are you insulting them? And are you disrespecting someone else's work? Again, we have this tendency to like to talk bad about other people just other people in general, but other people's accomplishments. Sometimes we want to convince our friends to dislike the same person that we dislike. This is something we shouldn't do. And sometimes we also just want to say something to a person to harm them directly, to poke them a little bit. And in my opinion, it is a really wrong thing to do. And in Socrates' opinion, it is one of the filters through which you should realize that what you're about to say is not very useful. And talking about usefulness, coming to usefulness is the most difficult one to measure. Is what you are saying bringing value to the other person? Are they interested in what you have to say? And are you teaching them something that is both true and good? So you see that usefulness already takes truthfulness and goodness into consideration, but it's hard to measure whether what you're about to say is bringing value to the other person. And I think this is the main idea of the quotes that I just read to you. It's very easy to talk about our passion, our hobbies to another person who might have absolutely no interest in them. Now, if they are curious about it, if they ask you questions, then sure, go for it. But if you just want to, talk because no one's really talking, and so you just come up with something and you see in the other person's eyes that their pupil are getting completely uninterested in what you're about to say, this is a true mistake. And it's not also about telling them what they want to hear as in lying, because again, truthfulness, because for instance, let's say your friend is about to make a big mistake, and you know for a fact he is going to make a big mistake, and he asks you for your opinion. What he wants to hear is you to encourage him to do what he's about to do, but you know that it will be truth and good and useful to tell him this, although this is not what he wants to hear. So when it is tell people what they want to hear, it's not tell the lies they want to hear, because you still want to be truthful. But sometimes it's about selecting topics. It's about not talking about yourself, because this is more often than not what they want to hear. Second tip is speak less and listen more. This is very basic, but one of the main skills you can have in a conversation is to learn to be the one who speaks less. Let the other person speak. Hear what they have to say. You're guaranteed to make the conversation more enjoyable for them, because everybody likes to talk and everybody likes to talk about themselves. You can take more time to take into account what they say. So if you're discussing a hard topic, if you're asking someone's opinion about something, sometimes it's great to listen to them before you even start saying anything. And even if you're in a debate setting or with different persons, it's great to let them speak. And if you can be the last one to speak, you'll have every other opinion to put together and come up with something that is both new, because you don't want to repeat what other people have said, but then you can also just know on what side other people are. And sometimes it can prevent you from speaking too soon, too fast, only to realize after that if you had listened to him a bit more, you would have realized that what you said to him was something that he truly disliked or that he had no interest in. So speak less, listen more. And third tip is, when in doubt, talk about them. Again, in general, people care more about what they want to say than what you have to tell them. So anytime you come up in a setting, whether you're on a date, whether you're with friends, with families, and you don't really know what to say, ask them questions. Now, in the future, I'd like to make a video about deep, meaningful questions, to go beyond just the idea of asking simple questions, but still ask them questions about their life, about their childhood, about their job, about their career, about their studies, about their friendships, about their relationship. People like to talk about them all the time. So take that into consideration, because this tactic is very powerful in setting, especially when you don't know the other person. And it's a great way to get to know someone, to make the conversation enjoyable for them, and to make sure that you're not talking about things that they're not interested in, because you are talking about them and they are always interested about themselves. So lastly, and then we'll go into the conclusion, it should go both ways. I want on this YouTube channel to put a strong emphasis on elegance, manners, etiquette. It is something I'm really passionate about. And we don't really see self-improvement and masculinity and entrepreneurship channels that go deep into this philosophy and this way of living, this lifestyle of elegance, good manners. Although they're very important, I like to put the emphasis on that. So if that's of any interest to you, please follow along this channel as we will discuss many other topics regarding elegance, manners, and social behaviors. And so this last thing is it should go both ways. In an ideal world where people are educated, respectful, elegant, all the tools that you learn today and that you will apply for them, ideally, they should apply for you. Now, this is the power of elegance and mastering these tools, is that even with someone who is truly uneducated and don't know about them, about these tools, if you apply them, you will still be able to make the conversation enjoyable for them. So if you want to win people over, if you just want to make sure that you offer people a good moment in your company, then this is already extremely powerful. The only issue when you master these tools and the other people do not is that you will often find yourself a bit left out. Yes, you'll make the conversation enjoyable for them, but perhaps not for you. Yes, when you'll be invited to other people, you'll have great manners. They won't dislike you, but they won't have the great manners in return, and so you may not enjoy the moment quite as much. So in an ideal world, both people and everybody applies these rules. But the power of elegance is that even if you are the only one using these rules, this will already make your life so much easier. It will make you socially elegant and accepted and liked by people. And you'll be sure that you are always in control of what is going on. So, conclusion, do not talk unless what you say is true, good, and useful. This is Socrates' 3 filters. Listen more than you speak. Do not wait for the next moment where you can speak, but rather wait until you are asked to. Asking about the other person is often the best way to keep a conversation going. So again, spark their interest for themselves. People like to talk about themselves, and they can do that for hours and hours. Give them what they want to hear. Add any additional information that is not useful to them is better left untold. Value your time as much as the others. Keep it short and straight to the point. It is better to have many exchanges of short sentences than endless monologues. This is something that we have with my best friend. Whenever we make a phone call, it's just me speaking for 5 minutes and then him answering for 5 minutes, and it's just monologues that answer each other's. Try to keep it short. It's better to have 10 sentences of quick exchanges than long monologues where the other person sort of like falls asleep as we talk. So very important to keep in mind. And unless you are asked for, you should avoid being too open about your emotions. This is something I've added at the end. It's also what the book suggested, is that in the letter of the young lady, she always speaks about her emotion, but the older woman, she doesn't care about her emotion. She cares about what she will do about it, what it will bring to her, what she can learn from her situation with all the situation that goes with it. So, Les Liaisons Dangereuses, if you've already learned everything from this video, well, thank you for watching, and you can leave and come back next time, hopefully. And if you want to hear more about this book, very quickly, it is a classic book. It's written in the 18th century, in 1782 precisely, and it is a novel written through letters. So it's just letters of characters, and it's very interesting because it is set in a period in France where values, etiquette, royalty, aristocracy was extremely present, and you follow the story of people from that time who had really low values, who are very lustful, disrespectful, who like to trick people, to manipulate them. And it's basically the kind of novel where you have two characters, and it's like they're pulling the strings on all the other character, and you see their point of view as they talk, and you see the impact of what they do. It's a quite long read. It's like many letters, but it really makes for a great um, a great jump back in time. It's also the opposite view of this period, where usually you have very pure and noble people, and here you see all their dark side. And it was a highly influential book when it came out. Of course, it led to a lot of controversies, because it went, of course, against education, values, religion, all kinds of things. So that's why it's such a classic of French literature. I'm sure there are English translations. I think it's called Dangerous Connections in English, but I'm not sure. So anyway, give this a read. I hope you've learned some tools for public and social conversations, communications. The whole idea is what you want to say is perhaps not what they want to hear. And when you apply all these tools, you are sure to make the conversation enjoyable for them, to tell them things that will actually be of use, and you won't waste your time and the other person's time talking about things that don't interest them. So thank you very much for listening to this video. I hope you like this format where I'm just having a conversation, having a cup of coffee, reading from a book, reading from my article, giving you tips, giving you explanation, and hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you'll be interested in reading the book, and hopefully you'll be interested to come back on the channel very soon to keep learning about all these things that I'm so passionate about, and I hope you are too. So thank you for today, and see you next time. Bye bye.